is a basic concept, but something I kind of take for granted. When I first pick up the guitar, usually this is what comes out. I'll maybe play a chord and immediately play the scale that goes with that. That would be the major scale that sits right on top of that chord. I tend to play the bebop. The bebop half step in that, just because that's sort of the way I hear things with that extra note in there. And I will then usually switch to the dominant chord in that same key. I'm in the key of G, so that was a G major scale. These are D7 chord shapes. And so I will then play in that same position, same scale, but make it sound like the dominant chord. And you can do that simply by starting on the 7th scale degree. That sounds like that chord. If you incorporate the bebop principles, that sits right over the top of that same position. Again, it's the same scale. This time it has a different half step in it. You can include the same half step as you've seen me do in previous videos. You may notice that I played that passing tone here on the way up and here on the 3rd string on the way down. It just seems to fit better. So anyway, sound of a 1 chord, sound of a 5 chord, and so the thing I've sort of taken for granted is that right in the same position, the relative minor is obviously the same scale, same selection of notes, but the root of that relative minor is here. So now, if I go back to the half step that I put into the bebop major idea, that note is the note that identifies the 5 in the relative minor key. So this is my B dominant 7 chord with that note. So I can think in terms of this sound, E minor, going to B7, back to E minor, but everything in this position, there's the sound of 5 resolving to 1. So that sounds very major, same group of notes, sounds like the minor, the relative minor. So if you use the major half step passing tone, it is in fact that leading tone to the relative minor, and I like that idea. It simplified things for me. So I think that's helpful, and of course you don't want to just play it here using this 1 and 5 and the relative minor 1 and 5. I'm playing a minor 7 chord there, but you want to do that in various positions on the guitar that, you know, seem to fit the way you play. But that's just something that, again, I've kind of taken for granted, didn't really think to. You always include the relative minor. So many tunes that we play go from the major to the relative minor. Autumn Leaves is probably the first one that comes to mind. So hopefully that'll help.